Welcome
All
back to the
right.
Perfect Season Podcast. It's a super amazing podcast, talks about everything, all things sports related, and absolutely nothing to do with milk and cookies. My name is Alex. We're joined today with Anthony. Frankie and Leon will be back another time. But with all that being said, week 5 of the NFL is now in the books. We have one team that is 5-0 on the season, the Philadelphia Eagles. We have no more teams that are winless as of this week, with Houston beating Jacksonville. So credit to Houston.
They're one win of the year.
It was a very bad game, I will say that, but it was more than enough to have them to win. Now, Anthony, with that being said,
rip to CJ Stroud's career.
Yeah, no, especially if you're going to be in Houston. Now,
yeah,
Jacksonville. Speaking of of that game, Jacksonville started off the season 2-0 on the season.
Yeah.
Or no, I'm sorry, 2-1. 2-1. They lost to Washington week 1, and then they beat Indianapolis and the Chargers, and now they've been on a 2-game losing streak. They're 2-3 right now, not in first place in the South.
Mm-mm.
So, what do you have to say about Jacksonville? Do you still think they're going to win the division? You still think they're going to
it's still early in the year.
Agreed.
It's early in the year. Everyone's saying, "Oh, look at a team like the Giants. They're 4-1 right now. Are the Giants could be a playoff team, maybe. But I see them maybe 6 or 7 win team.
The thing is that the Giants have been
everything's just clicking for them.
The Giants have been completely surprising this season. I mean, they're 4-1 on the season. The only team that they've lost to so far was Dallas, which is a good team. Very surprising with how well Dallas is. But then here's the thing that you also have to kind of look at right now is the 4 teams that they've beaten. Now, again, Giants 4-1. That's a great feat. There's not many teams that can say that they're 4-1 right now. It's basically what Kansas City.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is 5-0. Minnesota's 4-1. But so they're in a very interesting
spot.
They're in a weird spot. But then you also have to look at the teams that beat. Week 1, they beat Tennessee, a Tennessee team that started off very slow. That's now starting to get their groove together.
Yeah.
Now that Derrick Henry's kind of taking place. Week 2, they beat Carolina with Matt Rule and Baker Mayfield.
Matt Rule.
He deserved to be fired. Not that surprising.
No.
They lost to Dallas Monday night, week 3, and Dallas is a better team than everybody thought that they were.
Okay, let me ask you this question about Dallas.
What?
Do you keep Cooper Rush in there?
No, I mean Dak Prescott's still the starter. I mean Cooper.
Yeah, but Cooper Rush is undefeated.
Yeah, but Anthony, it doesn't matter. Cooper Rush is undefeated. If you look at his stats in comparison, look at the game against.
Dak is an overpaid.
No, he's not. He's not.
He's overpaid.
No, he's not.
Not an average quarterback.
You're right, because he's an above-average quarterback.
No, he is not.
Anthony, look at what Cooper Rush did this past week.
Dak's a top 20 quarterback.
No, he's not. Dak is top 15. I can make an argument for top 10. Anthony, we don't realize what Dallas did.
What has Dak done?
What do you mean, what has Dak done? He went to the playoffs last year.
Yeah, but did he go all the way?
Who cares if he went all the way? Making the playoffs alone is deserving of a starter spot. Cooper Rush last week, did not throw a single touchdown.
But you're telling me you'd rather have Dak, who's 0-1 this season, than Cooper Rush, who has the Cowboys out 4-1 right now?
Yes, and I would rather take Dak Prescott than Cooper Rush. And here's the thing, Anthony. Week 1 was against Tampa Bay and their elite defense. All right? And then in the last couple of games, they haven't been easy games, but they haven't been hard games, okay? Week 2 against Cincinnati, okay? That was a bit surprising. That was very surprising. Week 3 against the Giants. Week 4 against Washington. And then last week against the Rams. And the Rams have been very disappointing this year so far.
Rams are falling apart.
And here's the thing about Cooper Rush. Yes, Cooper Rush is 4-0 on the season right now. That's awesome. The only team that surprised me that they beat was Cincinnati. And even then, Cincinnati was still on their downward spiral at that point.
Cincinnati's one of those teams that's like hot for a couple games, cold for a couple, I can't get a good read off them.
The Super Bowl contenders of last year so far this season have not been good. Cincinnati's 2-3 on the season, which is weird to say, and same thing with the Rams.
Rams are falling apart.
The Rams have fallen apart. Matthew Stafford has not had that form that he had last year.
You're saying Stafford is just an average quarterback?
I don't know anymore. I think Stafford's prime is finally gone. I mean, last season he wasn't all that good either. If I remember correctly, I think he led the league in interceptions thrown.
Yeah.
And even then, I mean, he's still leading them right now. His arm is an issue, and they had a game that they could have won against Dallas. And here's the thing: Dallas's defense has been absolutely unstoppable this year.
Yeah.
But you also have to look at something, okay? The final score was 22-10 Dallas. Cooper Rush did not throw a touchdown pass. He threw a couple yards over 200, and that was it. Dallas's defense has been the main contributor to how well that they've been doing so far.
Yeah.
Because they've been very low scoring games. They haven't been blowouts. They haven't been 30+ wins. Offense hasn't been as dominating as we thought it would be. But with Dak, that offense can be high 20s into the 30s. Cooper Rush is a great backup, and honestly, I'd say he deserves to start somewhere, but
he's gonna start the rest of the season.
I don't think so. Once Dak comes back,
if they beat Philly, he starts the rest of the season.
That's a hard game to play right now. That's the thing. You have Philadelphia.
Yeah, but
it's Dallas.
You're thinking in that locker room, though. You're thinking about it like this: you go into that locker room, and some of the players are like, "Oh, I want Cooper Rush starting. He's undefeated right now, and he's been playing really good football." You go to Dak, and on the other hand, you got Dak, who, in my opinion, is a top 20 quarterback, overpaid, average. Not saying so far that he's a bust, but in my opinion, Cooper Rush deserves to start the rest of the year.
I would say I completely disagree.
I would not agree. I think Cooper Rush deserves to start.
Yeah, maybe for a different team, but not with Dallas. It's Dak's team.
I asked all my Cowboy friends, all my 2 friends that are Cowboy fans, and they both agreed with me. They want Cooper Rush starting over Dak.
Well, congratulations, Anthony. Your 2 Cowboys friends right there are not Cowboys fans. All right? Congratulations. You want a backup to start over the guy that you're paying $100+ million over the next couple of years for? Dak Prescott has proven that he can win. He went to the playoffs. Anthony, you also have to remember 2020, he went down for the whole season. And then the next season, he comes back and he's able to bring the Cowboys to a playoff spot.
I know, I'm just saying.
And now this
I'm just saying, if Cooper Rush is leading your team to be undefeated, don't you want someone that's constantly gelling, winning, going undefeated? Yeah, you might lose to the Eagles this week. The Eagles are a good team.
Mm-hmm.
That last field goal kick really saved them.
Yeah. Well, here, Anthony, let's put it into terms that I think that might be a little more helpful. Let's say Tom Brady goes down for 8 weeks, and Kyle Trask comes up. Okay.
That's Blaine Gabbert. That's our backup.
Okay, Blaine Gabbert. Let's say Blaine Gabbert goes 6-2, 7-1 during that
time. Blaine Gabbert would go 4-4.
But let's just say he went 6-2 to 7-1. He makes a statement for himself. He looks good. He looks like a top 15, top 10 quarterback. Do you run with Blaine Gabbert for the rest of the season, or do you stick with Tom Brady?
I'd be sticking with Brady, but
then how is that any different from Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush? The only difference is just that Tom Brady's more accomplished.
Okay, hear me out on this. If Dak's injury was, let's say, week 6, and he was 2-4, and then Cooper Rush comes in to start, and he goes 5-0, let's just say, who you rolling with?
Well, I think you would also have to depend on the strength of opponents. Here's the thing, Anthony. Cooper Rush has beaten average teams that have.
Okay, so this week is a real test.
This week is the real test. If
he beats Philly, he's starting the rest of the year.
If Cooper Rush can go into Philadelphia and curb stomp them, I'm not talking about a win. I'm talking about 3-score+ win. Then
and a field goal.
And the field goal. Then I could see how Cooper Rush might be a better start because he's been able to rally and beat Philadelphia. But as of what the first 4 games have done, I don't see it. I don't see it right now. But
Dak lost the starting job.
I disagree with that. But anyway, we got to get to a lot more other things. We have 14.
Apparently, it's illegal to hit a quarterback.
No kidding, huh? Yeah.
That's not a roughing the passer.
Let's hold on.
That's not a roughing the passer.
Okay, let's hold on for a second. What game are you talking about?
The Bucks game, the Brady game.
Thank you.
I bet you saw the play before that, right?
What the pass?
The one of
interference?
Scotty Miller.
Oh my god.
That was pass interference. He
I-
was all over him.
Uh-huh. Why? Why? Because he threw himself out there and was blocking him
No,
from being able
Scotty
to
Miller
catch it?
was running. The corner put his hands all over him, and then he was in his way. He was in Scotty Miller's way, catching the ball, and pushed him out to the sideline.
Isn't that the job of a quarterback to get in the way of the wide receiver without
Yeah, but
seriously
he was
impacting their
also
ability to catch the
he
ball?
was also pass interfering with him.
How so?
He was holding him too.
Define holding. Like, do I mean like holding him by like the shoulder pads?
Holding
or
by the
like
jersey.
Holding on by Anthony, really, dude, holding by the jersey. As long
But he was all over him.
Dude, if you look at film and how cornerbacks play, if they're holding on to the edge of the jersey and they're not like ripping it, they're never gonna call that. They're never gonna call that. Now, if you're saying that he's holding it by the shoulder pads, by the collar, anything, that's completely
I'm
different
just
story.
saying, if you go and rewatch the clip,
Uh-huh.
but
I'll
that
say this.
wasn't
I'll say this.
roughing the passer.
Yes, it was roughing the passer.
The sack on Brady.
Oh wait, no. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. That was not roughing the passer. That should not have
Yeah,
been a penalty.
as a Bucks fan,
That should not have
it's
been a
not
penalty.
roughing the passer.
No, that shouldn't. Have
Meanwhile,
been a
I
penalty.
was at work for half the game, so I didn't really watch it.
It wasn't. It trust me, dude. I was watching that game. Atlanta got the touchdown to kick the ball off. They were in a position where they could get the ball back and win the game. I'm not saying they would have, but they were in a position that they could have made the game more interesting. So it's now completely illegal to hit Tom Brady in any way, shape, or form.
Or Derek Carr.
Or Derek Carr. I don't really agree with that roughing the passer.
I feel bad for Derek Carr on that hit, though. Did you see how he went down?
Yeah, but Chris Jones purposefully had his arm up there so that he wouldn't lay all of his weight on Derek Carr. It was a very smart way to hit, and he was still penalized for it. So
Apparently, how do they expect you to hit a quarterback now?
you gotta come up to him, and then you gotta just pick him up and then put him on the ground at this point. I mean, football has just been a complete mess.
No fun league.
Literally.
It's a freaking mess.
I think we can both just say, let's just skip the Thursday night game, Indianapolis.
Oh my God! I didn't even watch it.
I don't want to talk about that.
I saw 2 drives, I think.
Dude,
Two drives.
I watched the entire game, and I'm just letting you know now, it was not worth it. That was
we have a horrible game tomorrow.
It's going to be better than Indianapolis, Denver.
What is it going to be? 9-6?
No, somebody might score a touchdown.
Ooh, whoop-de-doo,
touchdown. Other than that, let's see. Buffalo absolutely dominated Pittsburgh, 38-3. That was just unnecessary. One thing I would also like to mention is Pittsburgh currently has the highest paid defense at $108 million. They pay their defense the most amount of money in comparison to anybody else in the league, and they allowed 38 points. Pittsburgh's defense should be this elite thing, and they're not. And now you have a rookie quarterback that is
going, and they play Tampa this week.
So it's not looking
good. And Tampa,
it is not looking good for the Steelers.
No. You say has Mike Tomlin ever had a losing year?
Not yet, but this one might be his first.
He's 1-4 right now.
He's 1-4 right now, and it's looking to be 1-5 after this.
It's terrible.
It's just the Steelers.
He's gonna get off to like a 2-8 start or something.
It's not looking good for him. There's going to be some level. There's going to be something like some kind of level of change in that entire team in order to bring forth anything. Chargers beat Cleveland in a nail biter, 30-28. That's a good game to say the least. Chargers are getting ready. They're looking as what they should have been earlier in the season. Minnesota beat Chicago in a closer game than I thought it would be. New England absolutely shut out Detroit 29-0. That was just embarrassing.
Yeah.
The
Jets won a game. I know you don't want to talk about Bridgewater going down.
It's just Miami and the injury bug, especially this game has just been absolutely brutal.
Miami and quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, we're down to our third string. And we have Skylar Thompson has already been given the starting job for Minnesota this week.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
So it's
who's your backup to him?
Probably nobody. Reed Sinnett? I don't know. That probably
Josh Rosen just got released.
Oh, Chosen Rosen. Yeah, can't wait. Such a waste of a trade back in 2019.
I wouldn't be surprised if y'all signed someone.
I mean, we put a guy on practice squad to elevate him for the game, but
who?
Reed Sinnett. That used to be our
Right.
third stringer for the past 2 years before Skylar Thompson was drafted in the 7th round.
Skylar Thompson has potential.
He does. I just think that he wasn't ready to be put on the field. He wasn't expecting it because he did not look good in that game against the Jets.
No.
So I'm hoping maybe that he's kind of ready. He might pull off some kind of weird upset against Minnesota.
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield
went
went
down.
down. He's not looking like, it doesn't look like he's going to play. And
They
they
start
have,
PJ Walker.
they're going to have to. There's nobody else.
Who do you hire as their head coach?
I don't know.
I've been hearing things of Sean Payton, Dan Quinn, Bieniemy.
I'm not too sold on Dan Quinn. I don't
Me
like.
neither. He's been. I just don't see it.
I don't
Dan
like.
Quinn's-
I don't like defensive coordinators as head coaches as much as I do
I
offensive.
want to see
coordinators.
someone different.
Eric Bieniemy, he's been having issues with
Bieniemy
Kansas City.
deserves it.
He's been butting heads with Mahomes lately. I'm not too sold on that.
Sean Payton won't come out of retirement.
I don't blame him. I don't think he should.
I wouldn't go to the Panthers. That dumpster
Exactly.
fire.
Especially when you were the head coach for the Saints for such a long time and then go to the a divisional team, it just doesn't seem right. I don't know who would be going there. I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head. It doesn't really look like a good head coaching class.
No.
But other than that, I mean, let's see. New Orleans beat Seattle in a very high scoring game, 39-32. Tennessee beat Washington on a last second interception on Carson Wentz when they were only up by 4.
San Francisco's looking good.
San Francisco's looking just as good as everybody thought they would, even with Jimmy
McCaffrey's on
Garoppolo.
the trading block.
Yeah, I mean, I figured everybody on that Panthers team was on the trading block. They want to.
Yeah, because Matt Rule's gone.
Well, yeah, of course.
I'm calling it. Carolina's getting the number 1 pick.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. I don't see them doing anything with that roster, especially if they're going to trade with McCaffrey, Brian Burns, DJ.
Who's
Moore.
their even wide receiver 1?
It's Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. That's their wide receiver 1 and 2, which isn't a bad combo. That's not a terrible team right there. It's just that they don't have they don't have a super great quarterback. to
Okay,
utilize.
here's 11 potential new head coaches.
Okay, give
for the
me 2. Just give me 2 because 11's a lot.
You got Steve Wilkes,
Steve Wilkes.
Sean Payton. He won't come out of retirement.
No, he won't. Give me one more.
We already talked about him. They're saying Brian Flores.
No,
Leslie Frazier,
I don't know who that is.
Bills defensive coordinator.
Again, I'm not a big fan of defensive coordinators getting
Bieniemy.
head coaching jobs. Not Bieniemy.
This person, Pep Hamilton, Houston Texans offensive coordinator. Ken Dorsey.
Why would you want to sign anybody? Ken Dorsey.
Byron Leftwich,
No.
Shane Steichen, Eagles offensive coordinator.
That would probably be my biggest bet.
D'Amico Ryans.
No, not D'Amico Ryans. Well, maybe.
And that's it.
The Eagles offensive coordinator would probably be the most likely opportunity, at least in my eyes.
Unless Bruce Arians comes out of retirement.
Which he won't. Let's see what else. We already talked about Dallas. Philadelphia went into Arizona. Not a huge win, but a win to say the least. Arizona's looking horrible this year.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, especially last year when they started off 7.
Is it time to say
Cliff is going to get fired this year?
Unless he turns it around.
I don't think he will. Cliff Kingsbury always starts off strong in the first half of the season, and then always is a big disappointment by the end of the season. And if this guy is going 2-3 on the year so far, it's not looking good for him.
No.
I'd fire Cliff Kingsbury by the end of the year if the Eagles don't make the play. If the
Cardinals
don't make the playoffs.
That division's up for anyone.
Yeah, I agree. With
Besides,
San Francisco's looking to be the front runner.
I'm telling you, Jimmy G should have been the starter since day 1.
I don't blame them for thinking that Trey Lance was ready, and you know what? I mean,
I still give Trey Lance. Trey Lance is like.
The thing is, Anthony, that there's no way really to tell if Trey Lance was even ready for that spot anyway. Week 1, they played in an absolute downpour, so it's impossible. And then week 2, he was out for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So there's no telling if he was ready or not, because week 1, you can't judge a quarterback on that level of a game. And then week 2, he goes down really, really early, and he's out for the rest of the season. So I mean, you just gotta wait for next year to see if he's ready or not. But it's not looking too good for him so far this year, to say the least. Um, Baltimore beating
Houston.
Cincinnati in the final seconds of the game on a 58-yard Justin Tucker field goal. Absolutely insane. Baltimore is taking the division.
Yeah.
I fully believe that. Cincinnati is still a great team. They're still fine. There's just something going on internally with that team that I'm not too sure what's going on.
Yeah.
And then probably
They
the
gotta
most
find their groove.
they gotta get back into their groove. They need to get back into
Fire,
last
fire,
year's.
fire McDaniels.
Speaking of Kansas City and the
Why
Raiders,
would they?
go for it. Why would they go for 2 points
Why
when they're
would they
down by
go
a
for
point?
two?
Why would they go for
Like
two? You're down 29-30. You can kick the extra
there,
point
there's
to
like
tie the
what,
game.
3 minutes left,
There's about 4.5 minutes left in that game when they did that.
and you get the stop. You get the stop too, and then you run. You get a good play, and then they said Devonte Adams did not catch the ball, even though I think he had possession of it.
No, he didn't because it wasn't a complete catch. He caught it like over here, and then by the time that he brought the ball in, it wasn't fully possession. He didn't catch it completely yet. It was still kind of up in the air. By the time that he got possession, he had 1 foot and then it stepped out.
And then freaking Adams and Renfro run into each other.
And you can't blame the Chiefs for that. That's completely on Adams and
That's
Renfro's fault for just running into each other. I know it's difficult, especially when you're running a route. It's hard to be aware of the other players on the field because you want to just make sure you hit your routes and everything. But what was it? Renfro got pushed out of his route and then just collided with Adams at the worst possible second.
Yeah. It's a typical Raider game.
And unfortunately, Anthony, I hate to be that person, but it speaks more than just a typical Raiders game. The Raiders, as crazy as it is to say, I can't believe I'm saying this, the Raiders are 16th in the AFC. They are dead last.
Yeah.
Houston is above them. Houston's 15th.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, McDaniels he was not the right head coach.
I completely agree. I don't understand why McDaniels was the choice. We've seen him as a head coach before, and it was a complete
He's not a good head coach.
No. But and here's the thing, Anthony.
It's your typical Raiders.
It's more than just the typical Raiders, and I'll tell you what.
Who leaves first? Derek Carr or not Matt Rule. Josh McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels, hands down. Why would Derek Carr want to leave that team?
So
that team has been built around him.
If the Raiders start 2-7, let's just say, when do you fire McDaniels?
The second that you know that you're going to have a below 500 season. The
Raiders could turn it around.
No, they really can't, Anthony. They're in such a horrible position.
They're 1-5.
They're 1-4. But the problem is that it's not.
No.
Yes.
Oh yeah, math is hard.
Yes. But here's the thing, Anthony. They're 1-4. Not only are they 1-4, they're 1-4 in a very. I don't even want to say it's a hard AFC West because we overestimated it. But they're 1-4. They've had some really close losses, but it plays.
They should be 2-2.
2-3 or 3-2?
2-3.
Okay. But even that's not a good start for the Raiders either. You know, I understand 2-3. You could change it around. You know, it's just the first 5 weeks.
But if you fire McDaniels, who do you bring in as your next head coach?
Whoever the offensive coordinator is for the Raiders, you gotta make him the interim head coach.
It should have been. We should have freaking kept Rich Bisaccia.
I don't understand why you guys got rid of him. I mean, you guys went to the playoffs with an interim head coach.
Yeah. And
then you decide to get rid of him. Like, he brought you to the playoffs.
It's typical Mark Davis.
I know, him and his bowl cut. But the Raiders did
everything right.
Here's the thing. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but they looked the best that they have the entire season so far. Because you go into Kansas City, you have a very early lead, and you think that the Raiders are actually going to be able to hang on to it, which is, I was a little surprised to see that the Raiders were winning 17-7 at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And then it all comes crashing down, just like the AFC Championship game or the AFC Divisional AFC Championship game of 2019 when the Chiefs played against Houston. Houston went up to that early lead of like 28-0 or 28-3. I don't remember what it was, but something like that. 21-0. But it gets worse for the Raiders because now Devontae Adams has a little bit of a situation.
Yeah, because he freaking pushed.
He pushed a camera operator to the ground, and it was not a soft push. That was a pretty stern push to the ground.
Yeah, and they want to suspend him 4 to 5 games for that.
I don't think he should be suspended at all.
No, he would be getting a very large fine and maybe a 1-game suspension.
I'd agree with the fine. I wouldn't really go with the suspension. I mean, the thing is that
Yeah.
it was when the game was over. So that's a clear division right there. If it was during the game, it's a different story. It was after the game ended.
Frustration.
And I understand it's frustration, but it gets worse than that because now the camera operator has pressed charges against Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is under investigation for misdemeanor assault now.
That's what they already charged him with.
I know, but it gets worse for the Raiders because this will not be a factor for the rest of the season because they're going to delay the trial until after the season ends.
Oh yeah, 100%.
There's no point in having this going on now.
Yeah, but he's not going to get arrested for pushing him on the ground.
No, because he's an athlete. He's with the Raiders. Typical Raiders activity. He's not going to get arrested. He's not going to get arrested. He's going to have to pay a fine. He's probably going to have to give him, have to pay for the injuries.
If there is any.
It was a pretty stern push to the ground, but
I mean,
it doesn't look good.
It's your typical Raiders,
but it's not just the typical Raiders, Anthony. It's a Raiders team that is, for the past couple of years, has been stellar in the early game, in the early half of the season. What was their record at one point last year? They were first in the AFC at 5-2, and then after for the rest of those games they went 5-5, which is not bad if you really think about it. 5-5 is not a horrible record. It's not the best, but it's not bad. It's good enough for 10-7 or 10-6 and no, they won 10-7. Went to the playoffs, they lost in the first round. Raiders are 1-4 right now with a upgraded offense because they added a new wide receiver 1 in Devontae Adams. And they've been able to give him the ball. Derek Carr has been able to connect with him. Devontae Adams had 2 great touchdowns on Monday. I mean, Devontae Adams is working well with the Raiders. The defense is just in a complete mess. So it's interesting to say the least. I mean, the Raiders are going into a bye week this week. One of 3 other teams that are going into a week 6 bye week. They're going to be able to collect their bearings, get everything ready to go, and then go right into the next week, or into week 7 against whoever they play. But starting off 1-4 is a very bad start.
Unless you can turn it around.
And Anthony, I don't see it. Historically,
there's how many games left? Like 12?
There's 12 games left. There's 13 weeks of football, 12 games left for every team.
There is a possibility.
There's a possibility that the Raiders could go 13-4 and win out the rest of the season. That's completely guaranteed. But if history has anything to say about it, especially the Raiders' history of the past couple of years, they're going to make things look good, and then right at half point of the season, week 9, the rest of the season, they're just going to go right down the drain. So,
excuse me.
But with that being said,
or it could be they start off 5-2 last year, and then fall apart. Maybe vice versa this year.
You think the Raiders are going to fall apart in the first half of the season, then kind of collect their bearings by the end of the season?
Never know.
You never know, but is that going to be enough? That's the difference right here.
Yeah.
You have AFC teams that are 4-1. The Bills, the Chiefs. You have guys that are 3-2. The Ravens, the Dolphins. What are the Patriots? The Patriots are 2-3.
Patriots are terrible.
Patriots are 2-3. But you have some of these teams. You have some teams that are 4-1 that are at the top of the AFC. You have teams that are 3-2 that are pretty good and most likely going to make the playoffs, except for like maybe 1 or 2. You have teams that are 2-3 that could make it a sneaky little, dive for a playoff spot maybe later in the season. Raiders are the only team that are 1-4 in the AFC.
Yeah.
Bottom of the AFC. Not saying that the AFC is difficult to win in, but there's so much competition between those 2-3, 3-2, and 4-1 teams. And the Raiders are the only ones in their own little subgroup. So Raiders are going to have to turn it around fast, and they're going to have to turn it around now in order to make it their season.
If they don't turn it around, they're definitely having the top 10 pick.
And that's a horrible thing.
And then you definitely wouldn't drop the quarterback.
Absolutely not. Derek Carr is still the face of that
Derek
franchise.
Carr's the guy.
Agreed. But here's the thing: you go out of your way, you lose your first round pick and a couple
Two
other
first
picks,
round picks.
2 first round picks. So you're
But we don't even have a first round pick next year.
exactly. So you've lost your entire draft capital over arguably
Unless
the
we
top
unless
three,
we trade into the first round.
maybe. But
Because Green Bay would have our first round pick.
Green Bay fans are really happy right now, judging that the Raiders.
Looking at it now, Green Bay won the trade.
Well, yeah, because Green
Yes
Bay.
and no, but
Devontae Adams is missing Green Bay more than ever right now. I understand Green Bay's 3-2, and they just lost a bad loss to the Giants, but I mean, come on. But with all
It
that
is what
being,
it is.
with all that being said, I think that'll be it for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading a little mock draft earlier. Never too early to watch and read them. You know who had Tampa taken?
Who?
Take a random guess.
It's not a quarterback.
It is
Who is it?
DJ Uiagalelei.
Okay. Now, with that being said, thank you so much for watching the episode. We'll be back with our prediction episode very, very soon. With all that being said,
Maybe a little special episode Saturday.
maybe depending on what we can get done. FSU Clemson is this week.
Clemson by 2 touchdowns.
FSU by 10.
No,
But with all that
it's
being
not going
said,
to happen.
with all that being said, thank you so much for
It's-
watching. We'll be back with our prediction episode just after this one. And we'll see you guys real soon. And with that being said, Anthony, what's the thing that I was saying earlier?
But we said a lot of things.
I remember. Go Knowles.